Hill sponsors Martin vs Joshua on Sky Sports Box Office.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS Rifle Team in association with McGUIGAN Marbella. We're at the York Hall here for the public workouts of this Saturday night's Martin Joshua pay-per-view show on Sky with me. I'm joined by McGUIGAN.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good, mate, good. Yeah,
good?
Busy, but good.
Bet you've been. There's been a lot of stuff going on.
Fending SHANNON BRIGGS off, and no, I haven't been doing it, but our security has.
He's coming here today as well.
Is he? Oh, good stuff.
I believe so, anyway. I don't know how he knew about it, or who tipped him off, but...
Yeah, who tipped him off this time when it's all over Twitter? No, it's fun, isn't it? It's good for boxing.
Yeah. Obviously, still relatively new into your relationship and training with George. Since the De Louisa fight, how's things been going?
Good. I think the De Louisa fight was a little bit too soon for us to take, seeing as we only started working with each other about two and a half months. But we've carried that on straight into the gym. He's been back in the gym, flying. And just, I think the longer we spend together, the more I'm finding out about him on the pads and watching him spar and seeing how he responds to things, getting a chance for his body to adapt to the training methods that we use. And I think you'll see the best George Groves, on Saturday night. I mean, obviously he's up against David BROPHY, but from what I've seen, he's improving a lot, and I'm really excited about his future.
What have you seen in David BROPHY? Obviously he's undefeated in his professional career. What have you seen in David that could potentially trouble George?
Nice high guard. I think these guys are the ones that you can sort of slip and let your guard down with him and just not really take him seriously. But we're taking him serious, and he's 16-0, he's unbeaten, so he's untested, but he's unbeaten. And I know he's been doing a lot of good sparring with CALLUM Smith, and one of the guys, Alex Hughes, a super middleweight from Gary Lockett's gym, has been up sparring him as well. Says he's a very good fighter as well. And George did some sparring with him as well. So it's I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be interesting because you don't know how well he takes a shot, and you don't know what it's going to be like when he could be great in the gym, but when I don't exactly know when we are on a bill, but there'll be a lot of people in there, and he's never boxed in a crowd like this, so these things can make or break you, and he might rise to the occasion or he might crumble.
Obviously, after CALLUM Smith's impressive one-round display against MOHOUMADI over the weekend, George's name gets chatted about straight away. It's all publicity, but obviously talking to him there, like I said, George called CALLUM out and things like that, but he's asked questions, and but from that, did you take anything from that sort of makes you think anything? Why you'd be more concerned for George to fight CALLUM, or?
No, you can't. I mean, you can't really take much from it. The one fight you can take is the Rabras fight. He looked great against Rabras. But Rabras was pushing him back, whereas he's going to have to press the action if he fought George Groves, and obviously George isn't calling him out. But he's highly ranked in the WBC, and CALLUM's mandatory now. So we were a bit gutted that he kind of just overstepped us and jumped in front. And Eddie said we'd moved up to light heavyweight, which was a sneaky move. But no, I think he's boxed MOHOUMADI, who's number 7 or 8 and that was the box off for the mandatory. So I was a bit disappointed from the WBC in that respect, but I think that he's going to be waiting a long time, because I think De Gale will beat Medina, and then I think he'll beat Badr Jack, and then that's a massive fight down the line. But the likes of George and Martin Murray are big fights for CALLUM Smith to keep him busy. I think he's 25 years of age. He's learning all the time, but he should be learning on the job and not sitting stagnant. So I think these fights are good for him.
George just said there that obviously him against CALLUM Smith. He would make CALLUM Smith, in people's eyes, a favourite because George is what would be considered a away fighter. But is that the only reason why he would be considered a favourite in that fight, in your opinion?
Well, we just look at his previous performance. Matchroom has done a great job with him, and he's just destroyed Rocky Fielding and MOHOUMADI. So you can't really criticise him. He's a nice guy as well. He's a big lump for the weight. He can clearly punch, got good timing, calm under pressure. All these things, he's ticking all the boxes. But George brings something new, different to the table. He's quick, he's lively, he can really punch, and he's extremely reactive. So, the sort of level he's been boxing at is a massive jump up. Whereas you got your Buddy Jacks, and he's not. He's got a very similar style to the likes of CALLUM, and I think obviously George came up short against Buddy Jack, but we're improving and we're learning how to deal with that style. And I think if the opportunity presents itself, I think it'll be a really exciting fight, and one that I'd be confident that George could win.
I mean, we're sort of coming to the first third of the year's over now. The objective for George this year, is it to secure sort of these high-profile fights, or ultimately, obviously, to secure a world title shot for him again?
Well, he's had some massive profile fights, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's been involved in the biggest event in the last 20 years in British boxing, I think, or at least the last 10 years. So, with the Froch 2 fights, I think he's had those big fights. I think his objective, or our objective, was to win a world title, and whoever was the world champion in a certain governing body, then we would go after it. But we got these things change so quickly. 1 minute we could be calling out Arthur Abrahams, he gets beaten, and Ramirez, and you're looking at Top Rank, and will they take the fight, and he might have a mandatory or voluntary, and then you're just constantly chasing something. Don't chase anything. He's a big name. I think the opportunities will present itself. Look at Lucien Boutte. He's been beaten a couple of times, and he's still getting a shot. So when they do, I think George, we keep learning in the gym and keep our mouth shut and keep quiet, and suddenly we could be in line to fight somebody for what time. Opportunity
always presents himself at some point. So, like you said, George is still a big name, and still an attraction. So, but before any of that, obviously David Brophy, undefeated David Brophy, will stand in his way this Saturday night. So, but it's hard not to obviously bring up all these, especially after the Callum Smith thing, and fire all these questions about all these fighters. But Brophy stands in his way before any of that.
Exactly, he's unknown, he's young, and he doesn't know how to lose. So it'll be a tough fight, but one I'm confident that George can win. And I think he has to start making a big statement now, and then these big names will start calling him out.
Just finally, Shane, any news and developments on what Carl Frampton will do next?
Yes, there is developments, but we're looking at July, and he's going to get back in the camp soon, but nothing signed yet, so we've got to keep our mouth shut. But it's looking good, I think. It's looking exciting.
Can't confirm what weight he'll fight at?
I don't know, it could be 124, it could be catch weight.
We could
get our mandatory to meet us at a catch weight. I'm joking. No, look, we can't rule anything out, because suddenly if we put all our eggs in one basket and then that doesn't materialise, then we've always got our Shingo weights, we've got Rigondo, 2 mandatories there, but he's in a good position, he's in a powerful position now. Massive name, unified the division. These guys are calling him out, which is good.
Watch your space.
Exactly.
Shane, thanks for talking to IFL TV, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
William Hill sponsors Martin vs Joshua on Sky Sports Box Office.